Could Matt Riddle be headed to AEW? A new report outlines the future of Matt Riddle potentially in All Elite Wrestling. Apparently himself and Tony Khan have had a conversation. So we're going to talk about everything we know about this situation, what could happen next, where this could go, and why everyone is talking about Matt Riddle potentially in AEW. We'll get into that. We're also going to talk about WWE signing two of the hottest free agent names in all of pro wrestling. We're going to dive right in, let you know who those names are. Be sure, if you haven't already done so, subscribe, hit that like button, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. All right, first things first, let's talk about Matt Riddle. The former Bruh was obviously let go from WWE just about a year and a half ago at this point. And big question that everyone's been wondering is, what is next for Matt Riddle? Well, he appeared in MLW at one point. I believe he did a quick stint in TNA. And there's been a lot of talk about, will AEW sign Matt Riddle? Well, first, Matt Riddle was talking to Sports Illustrated's The Takedown and was talking very openly about a conversation that he had with Tony Khan. Here is what he had to say. I don't know if he likes me. He seemed happy. I wrestled Zack Sabre Jr. in Chicago. He seemed cool about it. I don't know. When you meet me, I'm very sarcastic, but when I met him, I was like, oh, you like that match? And obviously Matt Riddle was in Chicago. He wrestled Zack Sabre Jr., someone who Tony Khan has definitely had his eye on and had appear in AEW. And I believe this was the same weekend as All Out in Chicago. So Tony was kind of making the rounds and seeing, obviously doing a little bit of scouting probably. But was he scouting Riddle? That's the big question. Well, a new report courtesy of the good folks over at FightfulSelect.com did talk about this in their latest report. Here is the aggregation from WrestlePurist. Quote, Tony Khan has not had any interest in bringing Matt Riddle into AEW, especially over the last number of years. It was also noted that AEW talent almost never work Matt Riddle on the indies, and when they do, it's in Mexico. All right. A lot to unpack here. There were a lot of people who, when this news or when people started to talk about these rumblings of Riddle to AEW, were getting very excited because they believe that, the wrestling and everything that we know that Matt Riddle can do would be good enough to get him in there. And the reality is, right, as you can tell from both the Fightful Select report and Riddle's own comments with Sports Illustrated, it's not likely that AEW is going to bring him in. And I think Tony Khan has done a reasonable job, I will say. There have been some misses, quite frankly, but he's done a reasonable job in recent years trying to stay away from people who have a lot of controversy. And I think one of the biggest lessons in that, and I'm not trying to equate, because there's a lot of baggage on Riddle that's not just the, substance abuse and things like that, but I think there was a bit of a learning curve with the Jeff Hardy situation. And obviously Jeff Hardy, has had a history of substance abuse issues, and it compounded into that DUI that he had when he was with AEW that could have landed him in a lot of serious trouble, that essentially ended the momentum that he had in the company, ended his run. And I think for AEW, like I said before, was a bit of a learning lesson. Even though Jeff Hardy's a legend, don't put all of your eggs in that basket when it comes to that. And I think that's why you might see a lot of hesitation with Riddle, because there's the substance abuse stuff that, was part of the reason that WWE ended up letting him go. But then you have, the very serious allegations of assault against him that wrestling fans are really turned off by. And that, I don't think is worth, quite frankly, the squeeze you would get out of a potential Matt Riddle run. it is hard, right? And it's hard with these situations that have been developing for years, that we don't know about. Well, we know a good amount about it with Riddle, but like in general, it's usually hard to judge. But I think in this case, it's one of those cases where there's just so much there that it is better not to approach that situation. I think that's why there is no interest amongst people in AEW in Matt Riddle, to the extent that they would probably be willing to sign him. I also believe that it's one of those things where you also have an insanely bloated roster still. And while they have done a lot to have these running storylines, get as many people as possible involved in recent months, and they've done a lot better job of that recently than they have in the past, I don't think that Matt Riddle is, the person that you need to fill a spot on TV. I think that if it's between him and Lashley, I think Lashley and the Hurt Syndicate or whatever, that has a lot more of squeeze in it than you would a Riddle run. I think that potentially bringing in Kevin Owens next year would have a lot more squeeze in it than a potential Riddle run. So it's like one of those things where, and like you also have people who are currently on your roster that you want to highlight. You want to highlight the Daniel Garcias. You want to highlight the Dante Martins. You want to highlight the Mariah Mays. You want to highlight all of these up-and-coming stars in your company. So I totally understand why this would be a no-go for All Elite Wrestling. I totally understand it. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, Riddle is still doing his thing on the indies, and he will likely keep doing that. One other thing, actually, before we move on, they did note here in the Fightful Select report that it was noted that AEW talent almost never work Riddle on the indies, and when they do, it's in Mexico. That might even be like a contract thing, where like there's certain talent like that they like, or there's certain places where AEW has like a little bit more control or influence in like who they wrestle. That could be in talent's contracts, and that's like a new little wrinkle that we may have just found out there. But obviously, that's speculation on my part. We'll see what happens there, guys. Let's move on. Talk about WWE signing two of the hottest free agents in the Motor City Machine Guns. So many of you will remember over this past week, I did talk about a report, from PW Nexus that outlined the future of the Motor City Machine Guns, that being that they are going to end up in WWE. This was something that has been speculated for months. This is something that was believed to be happening for months, and now it looks like it's happening, as PW Insider, a very reputable source, has confirmed that report and said that Motor City Machine Guns are headed to All Elite Wrestling, got AEW in my mouth, are headed to WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, matter of fact, imminently. So they're headed to WWE. I believe the PW Nexus report had said that they are slated to go to the main roster. I think that's a very, they're headed to NXT, all over the place today. I'm sorry, it's football Sunday. I'm trying to see my Ravens later today. But they're headed to NXT, it would seem like. And again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, Motor City Machine Guns, one of the most historic tag teams of the past 20 years, one of the most decorated tag teams. I would say the second best tag team over the last 20, 30 years that have never set foot in WWE. I would say put them right behind the Young Bucks in that. I think that there's no team that's accomplished more than the Motor City Machine Guns that have never stepped foot in WWE. And I think that there's a lot of story to be told once they get there, and especially in NXT, with the ability for them to highlight and showcase and really help bring up the next crop of tag team wrestling in WWE. We know that Triple H is not exactly prioritized tag team wrestling to the level that many fans want that to be, but you're bringing in Motor City Machine Guns. There's another report out there that it looks like Rey Fenix and Penta are headed to WWE pretty soon. You're going to have a lot of energy injected into this tag team run and this tag team scene in WWE. So I think it's all about capitalizing on it. I would not have the Motor City Machine Guns there in NXT for anywhere over a year, because these are main roster talent. These are talent that have wrestled everywhere, wrestled nearly everyone there is to wrestle, and have had hundreds, even, I don't even know, thousands of hours. I don't even know it's thousands of hours. Definitely hundreds of hours of television experience. Like, they were on TV for well over a decade in TNA. They were definitely like wrestling like for New Japan at one point. Like these guys have been killing it. These guys have been killing it for a very long time, and it's about damn time they get a run in WWE. It should have happened. Honestly, it should have happened 15 years ago. However, for whatever reason, WWE were never interested to the level that it was advantageous for them to sign with the company, which usually points to money, or potentially points to the idea that they were not valued to be what everyone knows they are, and that is one of the best tag teams in the past 20 years. So, looks like that's happening again, and this is part of an overarching conversation about WWE kind of getting a lot of big free agents. It was expected, Motor City Machine Guns just a couple of months ago, it was expected that they may end up in AEW. That did not happen. That has not materialized, and it will not materialize. And it comes as another tag team is leaving AEW, actually, to go to WWE in the Lucha Bros. So WWE has a chance here to really fix their tag team scene, which has been on the decline for a while. And it was like, it had, at the beginning of Triple H's run, his first year, when they were telling that story with the Usos and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, I thought there was a lot of good stuff there. And then, latter part of 2023 into 2024, it's just been abysmal. So they got to fix it. These are two guys that I think will definitely help in fixing that tag team division. Let me know in the comment section, though, what you guys think about the Motor City Machine Guns headed to WWE. Who would you want to see them wrestle? Who would you want to see them face? What would you want to see them do? Also, let me know what you guys think about Riddle to AEW. Is Tony Khan right for not wanting to sign Riddle? I want to hear from y'all in the comments. Let me know. Until next time, I'm Omer Q for Real Take Wrestling. Be sure to smash that like button, smash that thumbs up so as many people as possible see the video. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.